I live in Sligo, so I know that the contracts for search and rescue is going to happen in February. People that work in search and rescue like that, it's a very difficult job. Not everyone can do it. And they're not going to have the dispute. They're not going to bring these to attention unless something's wrong. There seems to be a differential between how factoring is applied between airlines and the rescue service. And is this compliant with EU regulation? I would argue that it isn't either. You spoke about 058. When is this to be renegotiated and who's responsible? If removing factoring is going to resolve dispute that's going on at the moment, responsible of that? Is it the Minister? Is it the IAA? Where does the buck stop, I suppose? If you could answer those, please.
It's no problem at all. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to say that we will be taking Sligo base on the 16th of December as our third base, and we're thoroughly looking forward to that. If I may just broaden the picture again, it's important to understand the working day of the crews. So they operate a 24-hour shift, and over that 24 hours, the period from 10 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning is a standby period where the crews stand down on a standby basis and go to their accommodation. Waiting for tasking.
But if they should be, could it not be if they live nearby that they could go home if they want to go home? From a safety point of view, and just to rest and recuperate.
That's an excellent point. The contract itself stipulates that the crews are required to remain in base, and we see this as a very positive step. By having the crews together for the 24-hour period of time, the elimination of distractions is real.
But they've requested, I suppose, the staff themselves, would have said that if they can go home, they'd like to go home because of the dangerous nature of the job, that they would like to be able to go home. And I suppose that's what the whole term of factoring, isn't it? If people have requested that they can go home from a safety point of view, should they be able to go home? If this is the new contract, and this is the worry, I suppose. Now, it's not about pay, it's about safety.
Yes.
If I might, come in briefly for my colleague. I think it's a very valid line of questioning. It wasn't for Bristow to determine the criteria for this contract. What we do see is that more and more search and rescue contracts around Europe and other parts of the world require the crew to remain on base. And that is exactly to enhance safety. It is to remove the multiple distractions that might occur away from base. It's to remove the need to drive in urgency, possibly in inclement weather, mentally already thinking about the task ahead of you. So in our experience, it's quite common that this is there. In relation to the other element of your question, where the buck stops in this respect, it is, in the end, the correct way of accounting for crew duty is found in 058 or its successor when it is reviewed.
If you're saying you're compliant, if Bristow is saying you're compliant with this, then would it, could it be to exceed compliance when you're looking in terms of safety? And I suppose just to ask about that, could I ask you how many technical crew are employed nationwide?
I don't have that figure off the top of my head, but we have 10 per base is our baseline. At the moment, we operate across two bases, so we do have 10 and 10, and then with the other two bases coming on, we'll see exactly how that
Might I just add, the reason it's not a straightforward answer is because that number is varying during the transition.
Is it around 40? Roughly?
It will be around 40 in steady state. We have a higher number of crew than the normal amount required for the number of bases we have because we're transitioning. And during that phase, additional staff are employed. That transition team, consisting of engineers, pilots, and technical crew, they basically deliver the service from an operational base whilst the outgoing crews from the outgoing operator are undergoing their training.
And would it be fair to say, just from an observation point of view, if there was more technical staff employed from a safety point of view rather than a commercial point of view, that this whole factoring could completely change?
Factoring could change, but it doesn't change safety. Again, I want to reiterate that we have decades of experience running operations like this. In Ireland, this has been the norm for a number from the perspective of workload and number of shifts. And there is no indication, no safety argument that we can see that suggests that should be less.
So could I just come? So why have factoring at all then? Would you as an organisation object if factoring was taken out of 058 completely?
So for Bristow, obviously, we built the solution that we deliver today based on the legislation that was applicable at that time. If legislation was changed and that drove our headcount up, that would have an implication to our cost base. And if that was significant enough, that could be to the detriment of Bristow Island, for sure.
So could you, if it's in the gift of the Minister and to resolve this just from a workers' rights perspective and to comply with EU regulations, could you say we want to have this removed from that, removed from 058, factoring could be taken out of it?
No, we would not. We see no need to do so, and to do so would negatively impact our ability to deliver the service from a crew numbers perspective.
And is that a profit making or in terms of?
Both. In the short term, the ability to deliver, and in the longer term, it'll have a cost impact.
And I suppose from my experience in work in any workplace, or in any workplace, that disputes like this don't arise unless there's a reason for it. And I suppose that, and I think that's what the crux of the matter here is, that technical staff are not happy with their conditions, and they don't do this for no reasons. Particularly the nature of I suppose the precise skill that people working in this area have, and that has to be commended right across the board. So but if there is a difficulty, I think it's up to the Minister to have a contract with the IAA and for yourselves to be able to negotiate through this. And I probably would argue if there was more technical staff employed, would this be an issue at all?
Well,
or is it just looking at commercial profit really? Or is it commercial profit from your point of view ahead of safety?
I can't speak to the Minister's contact with the IAA and what may or may not change in regulation. What I can say is that we would never ask crew to do something that we aren't fully confident in. Speaking for myself, again, with many years in this field, with many years conducting search and rescue shifts, always being factored in multiple jurisdictions, Bristow does not today have any indications from either their experience or their safety management systems that there is a need to change. If the regulation directs it, then we will deal with that at that time.
How much contact have you had with their union representative, with Force, I suppose? How much contact have you had as an organisation with them regarding this issue?
We have great respect for the trade unions and have been in thorough negotiations throughout their mobilisation period. There's been lots of ground covered, and I think generally we view the relationships as very positive. This topic has been discussed for a while. It seemed like something that was a deal breaker.
Okay, thank you.
We thought it was beyond us. We thought we were beyond this issue, but it's back on the table today.